If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit subscribe button and click on the bell icon. The last time human visited the moon was in December 1972, during NASA's Apollo 17 mission. Over the decades, NASA has planned to send people back to the moon. Through Artemis program, NASA envisions sending astronauts to the lunar South Pole by 2024 and eventually establishing a permanent presence on the moon. What is Artemis program? Artemis is NASA's new lunar exploration program, which includes sending the first woman and the next man on the moon, specifically at the lunar South Pole region by 2024. NASA sees Artemis as the next step towards the long-term goal of establishing a sustainable presence on the moon, laying the foundation to prepare for human missions to Mars. Why the program is called Artemis? The program was named after the Greek goddess of the moon and twin sister to Apollo. If you remember, the first mission to take astronauts to the moon was called the Apollo program in year 1961, and with the help of this program first man on the moon landed on July 20, 1969. When Artemis land, Artemis astronauts will stand where no human has ever stood, the moon's south pole. What spacecraft will be used for the Artemis program? NASA's new rocket is the Space Launch System. It is the most powerful rocket ever in the world. SLS will carry the Orion spacecraft with up to 4 astronauts riding aboard to lunar orbit. Then, astronauts will dock Orion at a small spaceship called the Gateway. This is where astronauts will prepare for missions to the moon and beyond. The crew will take trips from the Gateway to the lunar surface in a new human landing system, and then return to the Gateway. When their work is finished, the crew will return to Earth aboard Orion. When will we get there? NASA will fly 2 missions around the moon to test its deep space exploration systems. NASA is working toward launching Artemis I, an uncrewed flight to test the SLS and Orion spacecraft together, followed by the Artemis II mission, the first SLS and Orion test flight with crew. NASA will land astronauts on the moon by 2024 on the Artemis III mission. What will Artemis astronauts do on the moon? The Artemis astronauts will visit the moon's south pole. No one has ever been there. Astronauts will search for the moon's water and use it. Study the moon to discover its mysteries. Learn how to live and work on the surface of another celestial body where astronauts are just 3 days from home. Test the technologies we need before sending astronauts on missions to Mars, which can take up to 3 years round trip. Why is the Artemis program important? When astronauts will study new places on the lunar surface, NASA will learn more about the moon, Earth, and even the Sun. The moon is a test bed for Mars, to prove that a technology or idea will work. The moon is a place to demonstrate that astronauts will one day be able to work away from Earth on Mars for long periods of time. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, like, share and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Till then, stay curious, keep learning.